Good morning, and from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. Welcome to Creature Guide Live Daily News. Remember to like, comment, and if you love animals, share this show with everyone you know. Now, let's dive into the animal news of the day, starting off with an article published by the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation. Mountain lion kittens confirmed in Oklahoma. The Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation has confirmed reports of two separate mountain lions observed with kittens in different regions of the state. This is good to know because mountain lions isn't an established breeding population within Oklahoma, and sightings, at least that I know of, are quite rare. Photographic evidence of an adult mountain lion with two half grown kittens was taken in Osage County in October 2024, and of an adult with three smaller kittens in Cimarron County in December 2024. I believe these counties are somewhere in northern Oklahoma, like north central Oklahoma. Okay, so it looks like we have the female over here. Hmm. And oh, okay, they're her two cubs. I'm guessing those are yearlings because they seem to have lost most of their spotted pigment, in which you would see in on cubs are only a few months old. Adult mountain lion with two kittens was photographed in Oklahoma's Osage County in October 2024. It also looks to be pretty healthy habitat. A lot of native grasses that we're seeing here. The image was captured on a trail camera installed by the private landowner and later shared with the wildlife department. Oh, this looks like another female with her cubs. Okay, yeah. So these are only maybe um 2 or 3 months old. Pretty young here. An adult mountain lion with three kittens was photographed in Oklahoma's Cimarron County in December 2024. The image was captured on a trail camera installed by the private landowner and later shared with the wildlife department. Okay, so this picture is from Cimarron County, and this was Osage County. While exciting and interesting, these sightings are just one small piece of the puzzle needed to better understand this species, said Gerard Davis, fur bearer biologist for the Wildlife Department. It's our first piece of evidence that mountain lions may be breeding in Oklahoma, a key indicator the population is becoming established. That two female mountain lions have established at least part of their territories in Oklahoma is a direct reflection of a healthy ecosystem. Uh, since we see two females with a few kittens, that means there's an established breeding population, at least on the northern Oklahoma, southern Kansas border. So this is good to hear. That means that we're not going to have as an abundant of a coyote population, also not an over abundant whitetail population. But sometimes you can have, if there's too many coyotes, you're going to have less deer in the region. But the cougars are going to help with that. While exciting and interesting, okay, no, did I already read this? Yeah, I did. Yeah, mentions the for bear biologist. It could open the door for potential research. Our first focus should be evaluating the abundance and distribution of mountain lions in the state. We've been confirming sightings through our online reporting process for more than 20 years and may deploy more intensive camera arrays. Depending on those surveys, further research may be possible. It is. I'm thinking that also these cougars, the population is coming in from eastern Colorado and possibly not so much Kansas, though there might be certain breeding populations over in the western edge of Kansas, but they're not very abundant in the state. And definitely once you head up to northern or up to Nebraska, which is north of Kansas, there's a very small population of cougars in the region. There might be somewhere around 200. These family groups represent the first ODWC confirmed instances of possible reproduction of mountain lions within the state. But the Wildlife Department has confirmed 85 sightings of individuals since 2002. Wow. That's okay. That's a lot more than I thought. That means there were probably even more sightings that just weren't reported, with an uptick in confirmed sightings in 2023. It is important to note that some of these sightings could actually be of the same individual. This upward trend, that's annoying when that happens. This upward trend also has been observed by states in the Midwest Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies. Before the photographic evidence of kittens in Oklahoma, biologists concluded the numerous tracks, photos, and road killed animals of different ages and both sexes documented in the state were of transient individuals. Meaning, by transient, they were simply just traveling through different counties or even states in some instances. You can have it where different individual cougars were or will travel from some western state like South Dakota and make it all the way to Connecticut. The closest established populations are in Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, and Nebraska. That is true, but when it comes to Texas, it's mostly in western and central Texas. There are cougars roaming East Texas. So far, there hasn't been an update on whether or not there could be a breeding population. But sightings are becoming more common in East Texas. But this is interesting for Oklahoma. Oh, and you're not going to be getting any um, transient individuals from Arkansas or Missouri. If there are any in those states, it's only a handful of individuals. Established territories fluctuate with habitat conditions. That is true. Once also, the further east you travel, outside of like when you look at the western states, usually the areas where it's not as good of habitat is areas where the wildfires have um, impacted the area with a lot of erosion, and there's just vast forests that are no longer abundant with healthy trees. Now, certain regions you can have it where in Arizona there are these trees known as western juniper trees, which are very closely related to eastern red cedar trees. And both of these trees in um, both parts of the country can quickly become invasive and take over an area. And the problem is, once they establish, once they become the dominant plant, they prevent a lot of rainwater from hitting the ground in many of these habitat regions. So the problem is have it where there are a variety of different species of flowers and grasses that can no longer germinate. And in turn, there's no food for animals like the squirrels, deer in the region. And in turn, animals like cougars have a harder time getting food. So that's where people have to step in and help restore. But why restore the habitat? But why I'm mentioning this is that's why in certain regions you can have it where cougars have larger territories than others because of just bad habitat quality. Um, oh, okay, I'm gonna go back up and show the pictures again because, they weren't showing on the stream. Okay, so here we have the female in Osage County, um, Oklahoma, and here are her 2 yearling kittens, so they seem to be in very healthy condition. This habitat also looks pretty healthy as well. You see a lot of different native grasses. I believe, though, this is in the fall, looking at the color of the foliage. And oh, that also means she might have a bit of an easier time taking down deer at this point because they're using a lot of energy just to ward off other males and impress mates. She's going to be going after mostly whitetails. Mule deer, you're not going to find in this part of Oklahoma. It's too far east. And here are the ones in Cimarron County. So I believe these two counties aren't that far away from each other. But this is a mother with possibly her 3 month old cubs. And they seem to be, they look quite plump. So they're in very good condition. So I'm guessing, yeah, this is sometime in the spring. I'm guessing somewhere around 2 to 3 months old. Yeah, they have their spots. They're pretty small. But, both cubs from and even both mothers are in good condition. You can have it where the mother's actually quite thin but she's making sure her cubs are getting in the most nutrition. But in these 2 cases, looks like they're both pretty healthy despite the blurry image. Okay, okay, where were we? Okay, established. Okay, female mountain lions are thought to have a home range of up to 75 square miles, while that of males may be up to 275 square miles. It varies on the territory size depending on where the cougars are living. You can have it in different parts of the western states where they can have much larger territories. And then in other instances, because there's limited research on the ones in different parts of the Midwest or even like the South Central United States, and definitely venturing into the Eastern United States outside of animals like the panther, which have a much smaller Florida panther. It's a much smaller home range. And but usually in the Western states, if you have it where it's a smaller territory, means that they have access to more of their prey, especially animals like mule deer. Home ranges of females or males and females may occasionally overlap, but home ranges of males rarely overlap. Uh, it can be quite common for animals or for female cats to overlap with male cats. So you can have it where, especially if you're looking at animals such as tigers, even though they're quite distantly related to the cougar and they're more closely related to the snow leopard, they have it very often where the females, actually several, overlap with the single male territory. You can even see this with bears, where a single male bear will have a territory overlap with several females. Okay, here's a confirmed mountain lion sightings in Oklahoma since 2002 chart. Whoa. Okay, wow, that's a spike. Jeesh. Did somebody relocate a bunch of them? Wildlife Department has confirmed 85 mountain lion sightings since 2002. Use of trail cameras has increased in Oklahoma in recent decades. So from in 2001, there were none. And then 2002, there was 1 reported sightings, 2003, 0, 2004, back to 1, 2005, 0, 2006, 2, and then it dropped down to 0 from 2007 to 2008, back up to 2 in 2009, and 2010 there were 2, and then 2011 a spike of up to 5 sightings of mountain lions. 2012, a downward trend back to 2, 2013, still 2, and then 2014 rose to 4 sightings, 2015 back to 2 sightings, and then 2016, 0. That's weird. Wonder what happened there. 2017 back to 3. Actually, well, that's the first we ever see 3 sightings. In 2018, 2. And then 2019, it shows a jump back up to 5 sightings. And then 2020, whoa, 7 sightings. 2021, up to 9 sightings. 2022, down to 8, but still pretty good. And then 2023, it jumps to 19 sightings. And then 2024, 9 sightings. Now, I do wonder if because it's mentioning the increase in use in trail cameras, which has been happening everywhere across the world. I wonder if that's why in what was it, 2021 there was a spike, and then not so much in 2022, and then 2023 is the biggest spike that we see. But for some reason, in 2024 there was a massive downward trend, like by more than half. Like, literally, it goes from 19 to 9 sightings, and I'm wondering if what occurred is possibly maybe a couple of males ended up getting killed, possibly maybe being hit by a car, could have been females. Maybe certain ones were kicked out of a certain territory. Um, I s- I have a hard time thinking that this has to do with starvation because judging by the females and their cubs, they looked very healthy, and I just think it was more related to a human incident. That's just a guess. It is interesting. Here's a map of the confirmed mountain lion sightings in Oklahoma since 2002. Photographs of tracks are most easily identified when ruler or size reference is placed next to the track for scale. So, in the lightest shown counties, that means there weren't any sightings. And then once you get to like light gray, I'm guessing this is where it was showing the 5 to no, maybe like 8 to 9 sightings. It's just showing on graph over here, but definitely once you reach the westernmost county, in Oklahoma, so that's on the panhandle side of the state. I'm guessing there's somewhere around 13 sightings that occurred in the westernmost county. That is where you're going to find cougar populations hunting the um, Rocky Mountain subspecies of mule deer in the region. And these individuals are probably coming in from New Mexico and Colorado, not Texas. And once you get to, I'm guessing this might have been where Osage um, was it Cinnamon County? Then you have 26 sightings. But now, granted, this is all since 2002. But for some reason, there must be an abundance of white-tailed deer in this region, and that's why they're doing so well. The interesting thing is, outside of this county, there's almost none. And then, southwest of the county, I'm guessing you have somewhere around 10 to 11 sightings. It's still less than half as much. And then once you pass that region, decreases even more. I'm guessing somewhere between 4 to 5 individuals. And then after that, it's pretty sporadic. I mean, I'm guessing in some instances, you can have in the central counties where there might have been 3 or 4 sightings, and then the southeasternmost part of the state probably around 8 to 9 sightings. I'm going to say that, cougars now have an established breeding population within the state. The adult mountain lions are light brown in color with a pale or white belly and black tail tip. Backs of the ears are usually black. The tail is more than half the length of the head and body. Cougars can reach a length of somewhere around 10 to 11 feet. Males weigh 120 to 160 pounds on average, while females average somewhere around 75 to 110 pounds. These males that they're mentioning are not very big. These are almost like Florida panther size. You can have different cougar populations where the males can reach over 220 pounds. That's how they're able to take down animals like female elk, which can weigh somewhere around 5 to 600 pounds. And some instances, they can go after even female moose. The females are much smaller than the males, but even they can become much larger, like over 130 pounds. From nose to tail, males may measure 8 feet in length. This is not a very long puma, and stand 30 inches at the shoulder. They can get slightly taller. Juveniles have shorter tails and spotted coats that fade with age. Yeah, obviously, you showed us pictures. Mountain lions are able to reproduce at 2 years of age, and most females reproduce in alternate years with an average litter size of three. Kittens. Let's see. Is there anything else about? I just want to get into if there's anything that we're missing about the Oklahoma thing. Though mountain lions are opportunistic hunters that feed on a variety of large and small mammals, deer are a dietary staple. One Texas study reported white-tailed deer and mule deer made up 82% of the species' diet. Um, Other studies show mountain lions kill an average of 48 ungulates annually per individual across their North American range. Well, that's okay. Here, the problem with this is that um, when it mentions that mountain lions kill an average of 48 ungulates annually across their range in North America, it varies also with prey sources depending on where the cougar population is, also varies on the individual. You can have in many instances where they will just be preying after certain species of rodents. They might be even going after fish in some regions. If you're talking about cougars that live off the coast of British Columbia, deer are actually a much smaller part of their diet. Um, and depending on where you are, even animals such as raccoons, turkeys represent a larger part. So um, that's not accurate right there. And I wonder if it mentions the Texas study further down because it's not mentioning where in Texas. There's a variety of different types of habitats within Texas. Even if you're just talking Central and West Texas, the oh, and depending on where you are, you're not going to find white-tailed deer coexisting with mule deer. So, especially in different parts of Western Texas, you go into parts of Central Texas, it's possible, or even the Panhandle, but we don't know where specifically in the state they are mentioning. In Oklahoma, mountain lions. Okay. Mm, and oh, come on. It doesn't mention the studies. Okay, everybody. Let me know your thoughts on this article in the comments. And thank you for joining Creature Guide Live. Now let's dive into the next article published by Earth.com. Believe these are pictures of the fossilized snakes. Scientists find 34 million-year-old snake that changes our understanding of evolution. This is a very well preserved, it's a very good, well preserved snake specimen. So, so far it looks like this is an Oligocene epoch snake. So, meaning that it lived 34 million years ago during the Oligocene epoch. Finding a fossil snake usually means sorting through a jumble of tiny backbones. A lone vertebra here, a rig fragment there, and plenty of guesswork about the rest of the animal. That is why an almost complete snake skeleton excites paleontologists. This is very true because many instances, many tend to assume that when paleontologists discover a specimen of any animal, there's a complete skeleton. And it's like, well, why don't we find them everywhere? Well, most organisms just decompose after they die. Many instances, it's because predators take advantage of the carcass, or because of wind, rain, it quickly breaks down the carcass as well. And you have to have a certain type of burying process in order for the specimen to fossilize. And then you find it in um, sedimentary rock. And there are many instances where there's a lot of soils you're not going to find fossils in. Also, just finding a complete skeleton of an animal is extremely rare, especially with different species of dinosaurs. It is not common. Many instances, there are specimens where part of the thigh bone or maybe even a rib bone and few teeth were discovered. And that's all that we have to rely on. Last spring, field crews in western Wyoming uncovered not one, but four snake fossils so intact that their skulls, ribs, and tails lay in near perfect order. The quartet comes from from sediment laid down about 38 million years ago during the early Oligocene, a time when cooler climates were spreading across North America. The snakes were preserved together in a thin layer of fine mudstone, hinting that they died within hours of one another. Early lab work linked the fossils to two known genera, but subtler features soon pointed towards something new. Those hints would reshape a corner of the snake family tree. Detailed comparisons showed that the Wyoming snakes differed in jaw shape, tooth arrangement, and vertebral keels from the species they first resembled, Ogmophis and Calamagrus. Um, yeah, these two distinct species of snake also are Oligocene and Eocene genre of snakes. Um, okay. The differences were consistent across all four individuals, leading researchers to name a new species, Hibernophis brithopdi. Also, these snakes aren't very large. I'm guessing they're somewhere around a few feet. The animals were small burrowers, each only a few feet long, with the largest specimen twice the length of its companions. That size spread offers a rare side by side glimpse of juvenile and adult stages inside a single species. Michael Caldwell, of the Faculty of Science at the University of Alberta, was struck by the condition of the fossils. They are probably in the world's museum collections, nearly a million disarticulated snake vertebrae. They are easy to find, but finding the whole snake, that's rare, Caldwell enthused. The four skeletons give researchers a continuous map of more than 200 vertebrae. Living snakes of similar size can carry 200 to 400 plus ribs and delicate skull bones, allowing them to see how each part changes from head to tail, something isolated bones can never show. Now, one thing I'm confused by is that it mentioned earlier that these snakes were 38 million years old. Or was it? Yeah. The quartet comes from sediment laid down about 38 million years ago during the early Oligocene. This is also wrong. This would be late Eocene. Completely different time. But at the title, it mentions that it's 34 million years old. That's the Oligocene. Like right at the beginning. Um, so that's a big question. Check your time periods, people. Um, let's go. Okay. The team combined the anatomical data with DNA sequences from living snakes to work out evolutionary relationships. Their analysis placed Hibernophis close to today's boas, a diverse family that includes tree climbers, sand swimmers, and massive constrictors. We learn quite we learn quite a bit more about boidae evolution in the broad sense, Caldwell noted. It seems that they probably started out as relatively small bodied snakes, which is interesting. The new genus sits outside the branches that hold modern boa species, suggesting that the boid family had already begun to split into multiple lineages by the early Oligocene. Growth patterns offer another clue. The smallest Wyoming snake sports a skull barely half an inch long, while the largest shows thicker jawbones and fused sutures. That observation supports the idea that ancestral boas were modest in sizes before some lineages evolved into the giant seen today. This also wasn't one of the first boas, well, not this animal, but even the other two genre to have existed. They venture further back. It's still a bit of a guess, but at least more than 60 million years ago into the Paleocene epoch. Um, Also, in the Boidae family today, there's around 57 different species. Because Hibernophis adds an articulated spine to the record, researchers can match particular vertebrae to specific life stages. The four snakes were curled together inside what appears to be a hibernaculum, a winter refuge shared by many individuals. Caldwell noted that the arrangement represents social behavior in snakes, which is something that we don't often see, and added, "This is really unusual for reptiles. Of the almost 15,000 different kinds of reptile species alive today, none of them hibernate in the way that garter snakes do." The fossil cluster shows that garter like tactics already existed millions of years ago. Yeah, well, at least somewhere between 34 and 38 million years ago. We don't know. Now, he keeps mentioning Oligocene, so it might be around 34 million years ago. Okay, so here is the specimen. This is very nice. This is also after they discovered it. I'm not sure what the time frame is, but once the snake was discovered, it wouldn't have looked like this. This would have taken possibly weeks, if not months, to clean. The fossilized skeleton of the newly discovered snake species Hybernophis brithopti, which lived 30 this says 38 million years again, in western Wyoming. I'm gonna go down. They can't regulate their body temperature, so they need to conserve as much heat as possible during winter by forming large masses, Caldwell explained. Modern garter snakes sometimes gather in groups hundreds strong. Opportunistic rattlesnakes have also been seen slipping into the throng for borrowed warmth. Yeah, that is pretty amusing. Rattlesnakes will do this. The Wyoming discovery hints that communal sheltering across early and May. Wait, what? Discovery that communal sheltering arose early and may have been widespread among ancient snakes. The bodies owe their pristine condition to nearby volcanoes that were belching out clouds of ash while the snakes sheltered underground. The fine particles settled across the floodplain, sealing burrows in an airtight blanket that slowed decay. They were preserved in a very unusual circumstance, geologically speaking, Caldwell said. Layers of ash alternated with pulses of mud washed in by seasonal rain, locking the skeletons into what geologists call the White River Formation. There have been a variety of different species of large prehistoric mammal within this region, different species of reptiles and amphibians as well. So this isn't just snakes that they're discovering in this region. The White River Formation is a very well-known formation within western Wyoming, a fossil-rich unit that spans across several Great Plains states. A small flood soon plugged the burrow with silt, keeping the snakes undisturbed until prospectors split the rock. Fossilization is a rough process requiring precisely the right conditions for preservation. With every bone still in place, the quartet shows how vertebrae shift along the spine, a reference that could lead museums to reconsider labels on their loose bones. Well, now that we finally know there was the White River Formation, this is probably around 34 million years ago. There are also different groups within the White River Formation that show different times and as well different species of animals. Okay, everybody, let me know your thoughts on this article in the comments, and thank you for joining Creature Guide Live. Now let's dive into the next article published by AOL.com. Two unique crocodile species found living in isolation in Mexico. That's interesting. In Mexico, there are 2 species of crocodile. There is the American crocodile, and then there's the Mullet crocodile. The Mullet crocodile is much smaller than the American crocodile. Mullet crocodiles don't usually reach much more than, 9 feet. That's a large individual. Probably don't weigh much more than around 500 pounds, whereas American crocodiles, there have been individuals where the, males reached a length of over 20 feet and weighed close to a ton, so over somewhere around 2,000 pounds. So, what's going on here? Um, I that's specific. just doesn't give the species. In a major breakthrough for conservation biology, researchers from McGill University and Mexico have identified two new crocodiles living in isolation on Cozumel and Banco Chincoro in the Yucatan Peninsula. So this is southeastern Mexico and probably um, east of the city of Cancun. The discovery made through genetic and anatomical analysis overturns decades of assumptions about the American crocodile's range. This article will explore how the study reshapes our understanding of Caribbean biodiversity and what it means for island ecology. Crocodile investigation. So, is this individual in the Yucatan? Usually on articles, they'll mention the specific place and even the species. That's no, it just says scientists have discovered 2 new species of crocodile living in the Yucatan Peninsula. For years, scientists assumed that the American crocodile was a single species, with a range spanning from Baja California to that's northwestern Mexico, to Venezuela. Venezuela is, like, north central, I guess you could say more northeast South America, including the Caribbean. It turns out, however, that there are 2 more crocodile species on islands in the Yucatan Peninsula. Fears of disappearing biodiversity prompted researchers from McGill University, in collaboration with Mexican scientists, to take a closer look at New World crocodiles. With shoreline development occurring rapidly around the Yucatan Peninsula, even on isolated islands, scientists hope to discover more about crocodile diversity before it was too late. The research team captured those dangerous creatures in different areas. They collected blood and scale samples before releasing them back into the wild. By the way, just to let everybody know, collecting scale samples from crocodiles does not have almost any negative impact on them. They will quickly heal. They're just simply osteoderms that they mainly took off. Then researchers at McGill University analyzed the samples and compared the genetic sequences of various crocodile populations ranging from Cozumel to Banco Chinchorro. They also compared crocodile skull morphologies. What they found shocked everyone. There is a notable genetic differentiation between the various groupings of crocodiles. The researchers realized that the American crocodile is not the only species in the North American basin. These might be the American crocodiles, but let me guess, it's not going to show us where. Yep, of course not. It's not gonna show us where they are. The genetic differences among the here, I'll just scroll back a second. Is that a fish? I don't know what that is. Well, these guys are healthy. That guy looks fat. Wonder these are captive, crocodiles, but seems to be more in, natural locations, so maybe they're just well fed. You can also have it where people just come over and feed them. The genetic differences among the sampled crocodiles were so significant that researchers determined many of them as qualified as separate species. These 2 unnamed species of crocodile were found on the island of Cozumel and the atoll of Banco Chinchorro, both located in the Yucatan Peninsula. They live in small, relatively isolated populations, each group containing fewer than 1,000 breeding individuals. Yeah, that's not very many. That's critically endangered. Previously, scientists believed there were only 4 New World crocodile species, but this discovery increases the number to 6. Mm. This discovery has profound implications for the scientific understanding of American crocodiles. Crucially, it also serves as a catalyst for greater environmental protection. These new crocodile species are stable but remain vulnerable due to their population numbers and habitat restrictions. Scientists have been sounding the alarm about ecological loss in the Mesoamerican barrier reef system, It's the largest of its kind in the Western Hemisphere and sits adjacent to the habitats of these new crocodile species. I was guessing by what it meant by the each group, meaning these two species only had 1,000 breeding individuals or less. Now, if it's only mentioning in a certain region, like of the Yucatan and then other areas of Mexico and even southern countries south of Mexico, that there's other breeding populations, then it's not as alarming. The researchers hope their discovery will help limit further encroachment on the crocodile's habitats. Furthermore, the discovery encourages the implementation of targeted conservation strategies on the islands. Given the ongoing loss of biodiversity in the area, it would be tragic for these two newly discovered crocodile species to suffer at human hands. What were the crocodile species? Where are they? What you mentioned American crocodile like 7 times, at least. Where uh, I'm sad. Like I'm not even being funny. Like I was I was hyped. I'm like, cool, we got two more species of crocodile. Um okay, let me know what your thoughts are on this scam article so far. Um uh, Thank you for joining Creature Guide Live. Let's dive into the next article. Hopefully, it actually mentions the species. Uh, but published by Sci News, new pterosaur species identified from sky fossils. A new genus and species of pterosaur has been identified from the fossilized material found in the Kilmallock Formation of the Isle of Skye, Scotland. An artist's reconstruction of Scioptera evansii. The earliest known pterosaur fossils come from the late Triassic, but the group persisted until the end Cretaceous extinction, said Professor Paul Barrett from the Natural History Museum, London, and colleagues. Pterosaurs are known from every continent and experienced two large peaks in species richness in the early Middle Cretaceous and latest Cretaceous. Oh, early middle. Huh? Okay, he might be referring to certain epochs in the Middle Cretaceous, but really, this I'm guessing what he means by that is somewhere between 110 125 million years ago. But the thing is, because the early Cretaceous spans from 145 million years ago to 100 million years ago, pterosaurs were widespread by the late Triassic, especially once you go into the early Jurassic. Now, they weren't as there wasn't as much variety in size and overall look as like until you get to the early Cretaceous, but um, they were already species rich. However, their distribution is highly affected by the Lagerstauden effect and other forms of sampling bias. Almost all of our knowledge of pterosaur evolutionary history is based on material from a handful of sites with restricted spatiotemporal coverage. Named Scioptera evansii, the newly discovered species lived in what is now Scotland between 168 and 166 million years ago. So, yes, this is during the Middle Jurassic. Eh, wait, what? Oh, uh, he mentioned the Cretaceous earlier, and this is actually a mid Jurassic pterosaur. It is the first pterosaur to be named from Scotland and the most complete pterosaur to be found in the UK since Mary Anning discovered Dimorphodon micronix in the early 1800s. Mary Anning was a female paleontologist back in England that found a variety of different species of not just pterosaur, but even a variety of different species of marine reptile, like different species of ichthyosaurs. She even found a variety of different species of ammonites. Um, Okay, so the flying reptiles remains consist of a three-dimensionally preserved partial skeleton, including parts of the shoulders, wings, legs, and backbone. Many of the bones remain completely embedded in rock and can only be studied using CT scanning. Okay, what are we? I'm guessing these are some of the pterosaur bones, but what precisely are we looking at? So it's a mixture of axial forelimb, hind limb, some unidentified limb elements, metacarpal and metatarsal, so ankle bones, wrist bones, and non-pterosaurian elements. Yes, you can have it where different fossils that mostly consist of one individual, can be a dinosaur or a pterosaur, can have the bones of another creature embedded within it. Oh, yeah, but it's usually not very much. This, um, whatever this is, just as unknown. Are there any others? Nope. Okay. Ceoptera avansi is part of the pterosaur clade Darwinoptera, the paleontologist said. Its discovery shows that the clade was considerably more diverse than previously thought and persisted for more than 25 million years. So this is referring to the family pterosaur in which Ceoptera belongs to, from the early Jurassic to the latest Jurassic. The discovery also shows that all principal Jurassic pterosaur clades evolved well before the end of the early Jurassic. Oh, definitely. Earlier than previously realized. Dioptera evansi helps to narrow down the timing of several major events in the evolution of flying reptiles, Professor Barrett said. Its appearance in the Middle Jurassic of the UK was a complete surprise, as most of its close relatives are from China. It shows that the advanced group of flying reptiles to which it belongs appeared earlier than we thought and quickly gained an almost worldwide distribution. The time period that Ceoptera avansi is from is one of the most important periods of pterosaur evolution, and is also one in which we have some of the fewest specimens indicating its significance, said Dr. Liz Martin Silverstone, a paleontologist at the University of Bristol. To find that there were more bones embedded within the rock, some of which were integral in identifying what kind of pterosaur Ceoptera avansi is, made this an even better find than initially thought. It brings us one step closer to understanding where and when the more advanced pterosaurs evolved. Okay, well, let me know what your thoughts are on this article in the comments, and thank you for joining Creature Guide Live. Now let's dive into the next article published by discoverwildlife.com. Researchers film never seen before shark behavior off remote volcanic islands in Pacific Ocean. For the first time, Galapagos sharks have been recorded rubbing themselves against manta rays to remove unwelcome parasites. Well, this is interesting. So here's the manta ray, and here's the Galapagos sharks. Galapagos sharks aren't very large, somewhere around 9 feet. And manta rays, however, they can reach a weight of 2 tons. They're much larger. Researchers working off the Rivella Revillagigedo Revillagigedo archipelago south of the Baja Peninsula in the Pacific Ocean. So, this is off the coast of western Mexico. Have documented Galapagos sharks rubbing their bodies against oceanic manta rays in order to remove external parasites. And just to remind everybody, this isn't referring to like the region around the Galapagos Islands. Galapagos sharks actually have a much larger home range, and the Galapagos Islands is located far off the coast of the country of Ecuador in off eastern South America. Um, Sharks have been known to use surfaces to scrape off parasites and often make use of the cleaning services of smaller fish that pick them off. They also perform maneuvers such as breaching that may serve to dislodge external parasites. And other species of fish, such as tuna, are known to rub against sharks to remove unwelcome hitchhikers, so other parasites. However, the new research published on the preprint server BioRxiv in April 2025 records the first observations of sharks using rays to get rid of pesky hangers on. Yeah, I'll click this. Oh, and a couple Galapagos sharks. Oh, okay. And the fish that consistently with the manta rays do feed off the different microorganisms that attach onto the manta ray. So they're a species of suckerfish. So they establish a symbiotic relationship with the manta ray, but hmm, did he just rub up against him? He might have scared off one of the suckerfish. You know, seeing if he's yeah, the shark's twisting. He's sideways now. Interesting. Manta rays must have a unique type of a skin for the sharks to want to do this. And he obviously feels no threat. I'll go back. How did that occur? And you see the shark wiggle and yeah, turn sideways. Actually, no, it's upside down. Huh. Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the suckerfish. Okay. Well, that's interesting. See what else we got. Okay, so between December 2024 and February 2025, two juvenile sharks and one adult shark were seen scraping their bodies on the undersides of passing manta rays for the first time. While a few of these parasites may be an annoyance to the shark, they can eventually become a serious problem. One of the most common ectoparasites found on sharks are copepods. Wait, copepods? Sopepods. Copepods are small crustaceans and attach to the skin, fins, or gills and feed on mucus and tissue, explains lead author Jane Vineski. These organisms are small but mighty. Carrying them in excess can severely impact the health and fitness of the host over time. In her observation, sharks primarily scrape their heads, faces, and lateral sides against mantas, she adds. These areas are prime targets for parasites, according to previous research. The efforts of the juvenile sharks did not appear to bother the rays, but the ray approached by the adult shark attempted to flee. Oh, well, at least the video that we were watching didn't seem that the manta ray had a big problem with that shark. Um, okay, this separate footage. It's 5 minutes. See what happens here. Oh, okay. Yeah, this manta ray. Oh, yeah, it's swimming away. Usually mantas, even when other species of fish come by, especially the smaller sharks, they tend to be quite relaxed, have a very slow sort of a flap in while swimming. But that instance, that manta ray seemed to want to separate itself from the shark. It's hard to tell in this instance what's going on. I just see a shadow in the background. Strange. No, it looks calm. Did it leave? Okay, wait. From the shark. Okay, I'll go back. Looks like it's trying to rub against the manta ray. I wonder if it's a smaller individual. Mm, uh, oh, okay, it's rubbing. Yeah, it seems to be much more relaxed. Oh yeah, that's a juvenile. Wow. It's funny. Okay. So this was based off of a group of 4 volcanic islands in the Pacific Ocean known as the Revalgido Archipelago. So this is where this interaction's occurring. Um, these observations occurred near known cleaning stations where sharks and other fish are serviced by species such as the clarion angelfish. These smaller fish scan the bodies of their larger relatives for parasites and pick them off. The client fish wait calmly, displaying no aggression or feeding behavior until they are cleansed of their unwelcome guests. However, populations of clarion angelfish have declined and dive tourism may inadvertently disrupt the dynamics of cleaning stations. The authors, that's interesting. I haven't heard of that. I didn't think diving tourism um was that numerous. It's almost like how certain tourism in different parts of Africa can have a bit of a negative impact on cheetahs. I know it's off topic, but you can have it where there are 15 land cruisers surrounding a certain cheetah. Now, in some instances, it can protect it from like lions in the area, but apparently, with this, the dive tourism is having an impact on these fish. What could you be doing to affect the fish in this way? Hmm. The authors speculate that sharks may turn to more proactive measures when cleaner fish are in short supply. More sharks may be competing for space at cleaning stations, leading some individuals to seek out less competitive alternatives like mantas, as adds co-author Mauricio Hoyos. Okay, so that's it with that. This is very interesting. Let me know what your thoughts are on this article in the comments, and thank you for joining Creature Guide Live. Let's dive into the next article published by visagradpost.com. Jurassic giant unearthed 165 million-year-old dinosaur fossil discovery stuns paleontologists with ancient clues. In a remarkable paleontological breakthrough, researchers in northwestern China have unearthed a 165 million-year-old fossil, identifying a new dinosaur species named Qinchuanlun Niedu, which promises to deepen our understanding of sauropod evolution during the Middle Jurassic period. This is not a sauropod. He's irrelevant, I think. No, it's not a sauropod. I just like, are they going to mention some other carnivorous theropod dinosaur further down? I'm not sure who this is supposed to represent. Researchers in China identified a new dinosaur species, Yinchuanlong Niedu, from 165 million-year-old fossils. The discovery was made in Gansu province, offering insights into Eusauropoda evolution in East Asia. The nearly complete skull provides rare anatomical details, enhancing our understanding of sauropod anatomy. The find sheds light on dinosaur survival through a global warming event in the late early Jurassic period. In a groundbreaking discovery, fossilized remains unearthed in northwestern China have led to the identification of a new dinosaur species named Inchuanlunyedu. This incredible find dates back to the Middle Jurassic period, approximately 165 million years ago, providing a rare glimpse into the evolutionary history of the sauropods in East Asia. So this was somewhere around 20 million years before the start of the Cretaceous in China. And during this time, where did you mention? In the late early Jurassic period. Yeah, so there was a bit of a warming event during this time. There were several like bit cooling and warming events throughout the Jurassic, and then into the early Cretaceous, you got more cooling events. They weren't massive, but you still would have in different, the Antarctic and Arctic regions. You could have snow accumulate. As one of the early diverging members of the Eusauropoda lineage, so this family in which it's mentioning would lead on to different species of sauropod dinosaurs. This discovery enhances our understanding of the diversity and adaptation mechanisms of these prehistoric giants. Let us delve deeper into the significance of this find and its implications for paleontology and evolutionary biology. The discovery of Inshuanglung Yedu is a significant milestone in paleontology, particularly because it is considered an early diverging member of the Eosauropoda lineage. This classification indicates that it represents a primitive branch within the group of long necked herbivorous dinosaurs that once roamed the Earth. Identification of such a species provides critical insights into the evolutionary pathways that led to the diversification of sauropods. The research team, led by Dr. Ning Li from the China University of Geosciences, emphasized that this finding adds substantial diversity to the known sauropod fauna of East Asia. Historically, most sauropod fossils in the region have been found in southern and western China, making this discovery in Gansu province particularly noteworthy. The fossilized remains include a partial skeleton with a nearly complete skull and mandible, which are crucial for understanding the anatomy and feeding habits of these ancient creatures. Oh, come on. Are you going to show a picture of a sauropod or even the skeleton? Ugh. Um, oh, wait. What? Hmm? No, go down. Okay. The survival of Hinwanlong Yedu and its relatives through a global warming event in the late early Jurassic is a testament to their adaptability and resilience. This event led to the extinction of many species, but the Eusauropods emerged as the sole surviving sauropod lineage, eventually dominating the middle and late Jurassic periods. The dominance of non-neo even to the Cretaceous, the dominance of non-neosauropod eusauropods such as Shonosaurus and Omisaurus during this era highlights the evolutionary success of this group. The discovery of Hinchuang not only enriches our understanding of sauropod diversity, but also helps to decode the evolutionary strategies that enabled their survival and proliferation. Okay, China. Yeah, but is there anything that we found out about like the creature itself, like physiology? It's just mentioning that it existed during this climatic change that it was occurring during the Middle Jurassic. There's not a whole lot that I can say about this. It didn't even give us pictures of the specimens, a drawing of the animal. Let me know what your thoughts are on this article in the comments. And thank you for joining Creature Guide Live. Now, let's dive into the next one. Published by mangabay.com. On a Patagonian plateau, a micro-endemic frog makes a hopeful comeback. Okay. Yeah, he looks good. Conservationists in Argentina's Patagonia region have helped save the country's most threatened amphibian. If you don't know where Argentina is, it's the southernmost country in South America, not including a strip of Chile on the western side. See, the El Rincan stream frog, a species whose entire existence centers on a single warm stream in the Somuncura Plateau. Huh, that's interesting. To restore the frog population, researchers removed invasive trout from the stream. Geez, they're here too? There are invasive trout species in many countries. This is insane. Bred hundreds of frogs in captivity and released them in the wild and worked with ranchers to keep cattle out of the frog's habitat. Oh. Researcher Federico Kekolar Kekal Keiko, who mobilized the conservation movement around the species, recently received a Whiteley Award known as the Green Oscars, which will help his foundation expand protections in the area. I don't know what a Whiteley Award is. A At a first look at Argentina's Somancura Plateau reveals features somewhat predictable for a Patagonian steppe. Shrubs, grass, plains, and rocky outcrops. Only the occasional volcanic peak breaks the monotony of the landscape, spanning an area larger than Switzerland across the provinces Rio Negro and Chubut. But in this apparent monotony, life abounds as the plateau's conditions make it one of Patagonia's key biodiversity areas and home to several endemic species. Among those, one critically endangered species has caught the attention of researchers and more recently the wider conservation world, measuring um, measuring less than 5 centimeters or 2 inches in length. The L. Rinken stream frog, also known as Pleurodema simoncarensis. This is important to know because it's giving us the specific species and even the genus of frog that this animal is, which can help also link to what family of frog it is. Relies on the warm headwaters of the Valqueta stream, fed by the Samancura's hot springs. Here, the microendemic amphibian, whose habitat measures no more than 10 square kilometers or 3.7 square miles. Sheesh, that's it. That is that is small. Finds refuge from the plateau's large temperature variations. This animal is probably a specialist, so you take it. I'm guessing you take it out of this habitat and it possibly just pass away. Species was described by scientists in the late 1960s, but went on to be largely ignored by science until the early 2000s. This has happened with a variety of not just prehistoric species, but modern species as well. When it became increasingly exposed to habitat loss, invasive species, and cattle ranching. That earned it the status of critically endangered on the IUCN Red List, making it one of the world's most threatened amphibians. Where's the stream? What? uh, Okay, here's Argentina's Sumacura Plateau, but there's no frog and there's no water. What on earth? It's provides an unexpected haven for microendemic species. Yeah, I find it funny when I see pictures like this with this type of a description and there's not a single animal. Federico Kikolaris has long studied the L. Rinken stream frog. Aside from adding knowledge about the species and its habitats, Kikolaris, who leads the Samancura Foundation, has mobilized a conservation movement around this tiny amphibian. So far, the effort, coordinated by several NGOs with ranchers and local communities, has boosted the frog population by about 15% to date from an initial count of just over 4,500 adult individuals in 2018. Okay, well, I was concerned there were only a handful of individuals. So back in 2018, there were 4,500 of these frogs, not including tadpoles, which are baby frogs. These restoration efforts have also benefited the critically endangered naked caracan fish, Gymno, Gymnocaracinus burgi, Patagonia's only endemic fish species, found only in the Valqueta stream. For his work, Keiko Keikolaris was recently named a winner of the Whiteley Award, a prestigious prize known as the Green Oscars that supports grassroots conservation across the global south. As a conservation symbol, the L. Rinken frogs are very important because they are the most threatened amphibian species in the country, Keikolaris tells Manga Bay. The key action to conserve the frogs has been tackling the predatory species that have invaded their habitat. Predatory rainbow trout. Oh god. Rainbow trout have been introduced to so many regions, like Yellowstone being one of the areas. Um, okay, they were introduced in the Volcata stream and across Argentina during the 1920s. Highly aggressive species, it quickly became the top predator, pushing the Alrincan frogs into the headwaters and a few isolated tributaries. But even in these small patches away from the trout, the frogs saw their habitats threatened by cattle, which trampled on vital vegetation and polluted the waters, causing eutrophication or low oxygen dead spots, Kikolaris says. Removing the trout was the only way to guarantee the long term survival of the frogs, he adds. Using a system of natural features such as waterfalls alongside artificial barriers, the team from the Samankura Foundation has cleared the stream one section at a time, increasing the frog's natural habitat by more than 15%. Kylo Keiko Lara says. They then released thousands of tadpoles into the trout free restored areas. This sounds like um, the only foundation that has something to do with the name Oscars has actually benefited animals. At least that I've heard of. Yeah, there are many instances where people will release animals like the goldfish into because they're native to China and well, also known as carp, but in different lakes and ponds in the Midwest, even the Eastern United States. I believe there are even some invasive populations in the Western United States, and carp um, just skyrocket in population in many regions of the world because they're able to adapt to a variety of different of waters of different temperatures, and in many cases, there's nothing to eat them. And you have it in different parts of Michigan, Minnesota, where they've become just overabundant, and it outcompetes many species of native fish, and in many cases, it might even consume smaller fish species. And in a lot of cases, it can start depleting the oxygen in the water because of the amount that animals such as goldfish tend to defecate. To address cattle invasions, the Samankura Foundation works with local ranchers. Traditionally, they raise sheep here, but about 10 years ago, increasing number of sheep fell prey to pumas and Andean foxes. So these are the population of mountain lions and cougars within this region. They switched to cattle, Nicolaris tells Manga Bay. This despite the land and climate being too hostile for ranching. So creating okay, so here they're creating dams to manage restrict trout from entering the areas inhabited by the Ulrican stream frog. In many places, the Volcata stream runs through private properties, and Kekularis has worked with individual ranchers, striking deals to fence off key areas of the stream where the thermal waters bubble to the surface and where both the frogs and fish go to breed. Water troughs are provided so the cattle still have easy access to water. Kekularis also encourages ranchers to return to sheep farming, showing them it can be much more lucrative and providing them with guardian dogs to protect the livestock from predator attacks. Well, at the same time, the program is working to discourage the shooting of pumas and Andean foxes. The frogs are like a flagship species, Kikularis says. Ranchers are really proud about being neighbors of these incredible animals. It's a kind of local symbol. Marta and Benedicto Ortiz are siblings who have been farming sheep and goats across about 2,000 hectares or 5,000 acres on the plateau for more than 50 years. Speaking through Kikularis, they say that when they were children, the stream was full of frogs, but that over the years, these disappeared. They've allowed the foundation to fence off some of the stream that runs across their family's land and say they're proud to help protect the frogs and naked curricans. So these are little cute naked Gherkin fish right here, living there. We okay. Um, so yes, they're found only in the Vegeta stream. The siblings also have 3 guard dogs that they say have reduced the loss of sheep to predators. Over the last 4 years, the Samakura Foundation, in partnership with the UK charity World Land Trust and partner NGO, the Habitat and Development Foundation, have acquired 20,000 hectares across the plateau, which now forms the region's first nature reserve. Well, now we know where they're getting a lot of the funding from this. That explains a lot. So I was like, wow, this foundation's pretty doing really well. Oh, okay. I mean, it's okay. It's just there have been a lot of instances where or these different land trusts have just been a scam. And they claim they're helping the animals in different countries, and in many cases, they're just taking the land, but no one really knows what they're doing with it. The ultimate aim, Kekolaris says, is to donate the land to Argentina's National Park Service, which will give it a higher level of protection. This marks a rare success for conservationists working to save the world's amphibians. According to research published in February, amphibians worldwide receive just 2.8% of all conservation funding, despite the fact that 41% of the entire class are threatened with extinction. Okay, I think that's a bit exaggerated because usually, if you're helping certain, larger species of mammals or reptiles, you're usually helping the amphibians as well. I think that's extremely exaggerated. That's just to get people to go fund. Um, Amphibians are the most threatened animals on the planet, says John Tarrant, director at Nanura, Africa. Yeah, tell that to the vaquita dolphin. And NGOs supporting amphibian conservation across Africa. There's 8 of them, if that. Yeah, they're um, yeah, the Vaquilla dolphin is a species of whale off the coast of Mexico that, like, I think somewhere in the 90s, there might have been somewhere around 15 to 20 of them, and then slowly over the past 2 decades, they've dwindled somewhere between 5 to 8 individuals. And tell that to the red wolf, of which there might be 20 to 25 individuals, even though there's 200 of them in captivity, and most of them, unfortunately, are inbred in the captive situation. And then what else do we have? Um, see, red wolf, vaquita dolphin, Sumatran rhino, 40 to 50 individuals, low birth rate. Javan rhino, somewhere between 70 to 80 individuals, low birth rate. You're claiming you cannot tell this or mention this about animals that have, as long as they have access to different mates, a massive birth rate. And no, in my opinion, it's animals like large mammals such as Sumatran rhinos. Um, okay. Let's see. Anything else about this animal? Okay, Kirk and fish. Um, this might be it. Oh, okay. So showing its range. Sheesh. So they've skyrocketed in population, I'm guessing, in these yellow areas. Well, it's good for the species. It might be an exaggerated bounce, but yeah, it's shown by 2030, and that was 2021. Um, yes. Okay. Let me know what your thoughts are about this article in the comments. And thank you for joining Creature Guide Live. Now, let's dive into the final article. Posted by WGRZ.com. Bear spotted in South Buffalo on Wednesday. A black bear has been spotted on homeowners' Ring doorbell cameras in South Buffalo on Wednesday night. Homeowners in South Buffalo had an unexpected guest wandering past their homes on Wednesday night. Two on your side received a video from Jessica Michaelzak that shows what appears to be a juvenile black bear headed down Maryland Street. Maria, uh, we have reached out to Buffalo police and the Buffalo Animal Shelter to see if they have received any reports of the bear. Oh, I thought, this was one of the locals reporting the bear to them. Like, what? Why? There have been no updated sightings of the bear as of Friday morning. I was, like, shocked and told my wife, "Hey, this is in front of our house," said Jim Carrig, who lives on Maryland Street and who was alerted through a text message from his nephew. He lives in Hamburg. Oh, just thinking of Germany. He lives in Hamburg, and at first, because it wasn't a very good video, I asked if it was a bear in his yard, and he said, "No, it's in your neighborhood on Maryland Street," Carrig said. It may not be entirely surprising that a bear could be in this part of the city, as portions of Maryland Street are surrounded by wide open green spaces, wooded areas, and it's just a few blocks from South Park. I'm guessing this is um in northwestern New York State. At least that I know of, black bears aren't very common to see even on the outskirts of Buffalo, but it's not surprising that they've reached the area considering there is a lot of, it's fragmented, but there are different forested regions and a lot of densely forested neighborhoods um, adjacent to Western New York State. A lot of the black bear population does exist towards the central part of New York State, and especially in the northeastern region where there isn't any development. It's just protected forest land. And there's somewhere around 18 to 20,000 black bears within the state of New York. And occasionally they are spotted on the outer suburbs of New York City. Show a video of him? Oh. Oh, here we go. Yep. Oh, come on. Um, okay, so by what we saw, this might be a young male wandering through, which is pretty common. They are much more curious than the females wandering around. Oh, yeah, this is probably a 24. I wouldn't even say that, maybe a 20-month-old? Might be slightly older. I wanna see the bear. I don't. Oh. Oh, another one of these. It's Garfield and the black bear standing. There he goes. Sheesh. Yeah, it's more common for animals like coyotes to, eat the cats. Black bears, usually the cats scare off the bear. They don't. Did I skip anything? No. What? No, 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 no. What? Ugh, sad when that happens. Reality of the video is, like, a few seconds long. He's just strolling. I wonder if this is spring because he's thin. Yeah, he's looking for garbage. It's a thin, male bear. Guessing it's a male. It's pretty small. Okay, well, that's the animal news of the day. My name is Ethan. You remember to like, comment, and if you love animals, share this show with everyone you know. You can catch our Animal Weekend live streams on Rumble at 6 p.m. Central, Friday through Saturday, and Sunday at 3 p.m. Central. Thank you for joining.